You're listening to Rouge Radio, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
It's time to get the point as Rouge Radio is ready to kick off.
Ready!
The best football talk with the best in the business.
So what is the cost? You have 2 first-round picks this year because the Argos are dumb enough to trade for Drew Willie.
A few rookies.
We go directly to the on-field product. We welcome to the show the 20th overall pick in this past Sunday's CFL draft, DeAndre Wright of the Alouettes. DeAndre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
And the occasional Hall of Famer.
Please welcome Doug Brown, who is one of the members of the current class of 2016 in the CFL Hall of Fame. Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you guys for the kind words and for having me on the program.
Rouge Radio is on the air. Here's your hosts, Robert Dalton and Tony Allen.
The Rouge Radio Podcast is live from Winnipeg, Manitoba and Medicine Hat, Alberta. This is episode 538, powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. The podcast is also sponsored by the good folks over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com/Rouge and you get enter the promo code Rouge for 20% off your entire order and free worldwide shipping. Go to Manscaped. Your balls, well, they will thank you. Gentlemen.
Well, that's got to be the worst booth announcing I have ever heard in my life. Come on, Irv. You got to do better. Do better. It is the Rouge Radio.
It was rougher.
Yeah, it is the Rouge Radio Podcast. My name is Robert Dalton. Joining me, as always, Mr. Tony Allen. Tony, how's it going?
Pretty good, you?
Well, I mean, I'll let the music little... we have a little announcement. If you paid attention to last week's podcast... There we go. All right, okay.
That on its own is just a fantastic song.
Yeah. No,
that's worth playing just because.
Yeah, in fact, we're just going to go for a little water break. We'll just play that theme music. I went 4 for 4 last week, and it's amazing. It's been a while since I have more than 2 correct, but I lucked out. I actually couldn't believe it. I had to actually pay attention to the podcast last week to say, hey, wait a minute, what did I predict? I know I had Edmonton right because I got the score wrong. I predicted Edmonton would just rout Saskatchewan. No rhyme or reason. I just had that, and they could have done it, and then they just kind of let off in the fourth quarter, let Saskatchewan almost tie it. Anything right home from the game from the week that was your Calgary Stampeders weren't as good as they have been.
Just slumping at the worst time.
Oh, God.
Just slumping at the worst time. We'll see what this big trade does for them. But, obviously, they needed to do something, spring into action, show some signs of desperation almost, and, we'll see what happens. Like, they're just slumping at 3 losses in a row now. Like, that West is just a logjam now. I don't know who I'm picking.
And not only were they losses, they haven't looked good. Like nowhere near to where they looked in the first half of the season. So I mean, if you're a voter for CFL awards, would this not be an indication that Folarin Oromalade might be an MVP? If there was an MVP award, that guy should get it, because the moment that he was gone, that D-line, just not as good. I mean, I like Hicks, I like Hutchins. Lorenzo Molden should add it, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But that defensive line was the backbone, not only of that defense, but that team. This was swarming everything. Like you couldn't gain a lot of yards, and when you could, they hurt you doing it. Their secondary was just, fantastic. If you got like a 100-yard drive ending in a touchdown, thank your lucky stars, because it wasn't going to happen again. But I'm glad you mentioned the trade. CFL trade deadline happened roughly about 7 hours ago, and with a whopping 0 trades to happen today, and it peaked. It peaked on Monday, as you mentioned. Was it Monday or was it Sunday? Lorenzo Malden was traded from the Ottawa Red Blacks. Obvious fire sale coming soon. I think we can know where the Week 18 predictions might fall in line. Clear fire sale. Lorenzo Malden over to the Calgary Stampeders. First off, 4th round pick from next year going the other way. Kind of like a cheap return for an all-star defensive lineman. I mean, not all-star. I can't remember if he was an all-star last year. Wasn't as productive last year, but he was it's a recent all-star if it wasn't last year. Your thoughts on the trade? Obviously, you're a big Stampeder fan. My first thoughts on this one is that this is not going to come close to replacing Orimolade, but it comes pretty damn close.
It's a big enough addition to hopefully fill a gap there, and I think it kind of came at how do I want to say it? Like Dave needed to do something. I think another third straight loss and the points against are just piling up. Like you just score points at will against the Calgary Stampeders. So even if you wanted to say it looked like a desperation move by Dave Dickinson,
it probably was
still a justified move. It still needed to be made. Like it was the right move. It is a desperation move, and it was the right move to make. Now, if we'll see an impact on the field, we'll have to wait till the games start. But I mean, it was a panic move, if you want, a desperation move, but it needed to make it. He needed to make it, and it happened. So we'll see now how it pans out, because the Stampeders are just in quicksand right now. They can't get out of it, and I mean, they could easily find themselves just above Edmonton after this weekend.
Yeah, no, that like Edmonton is peaking. I don't even know if Edmonton is peaking, but I don't know how much of that Edmonton winning was winning it for the passing of their owner, right? Like you always have that big that something dramatic happens and it rolls into like how far can Edmonton use that as a momentum swing. I don't know if it is going to be something like if Edmonton was playing this week. I don't know. I know I'm going off topic here, but I mean, Edmonton is their record right now because there's always that one thing that just holds them back, and they almost did that one thing that held them back against Saskatchewan. They had a 2-touchdown lead or a 2-score lead, and Saskatchewan, to their credit, fought their way back, almost tied the game, and some would argue that they probably shouldn't have had to come back to begin with. There were some iffy calls, some quick whistles, but I'm not going to talk about that. But there is...
And also, you know what? If you've had the last 6 seasons that the Edmonton Elks will have, you're just taking the 2 points and the victory, and you're celebrating that. Like, Edmonton is not a team that needs to nitpick how it gets its 2 points. If you get 2 points, you get into next week. And, I mean, obviously the big standout, I didn't have a magnificent bastard going into tonight's show, I didn't think, but if I have to give one off the top of my head, I mean, Justin Rankin was fantastic for the Elks. And, I mean...
He didn't have a heck of a game, but he had one heck of a quarter. I can tell you that.
Yeah. So it's like, how much more can Edmonton get out of him, and can they build something around him to maybe sustain a few more wins? Because when he did get hot, I mean, he just had his way with the Riders' defense. It was just fantastic. I thought it was funny because I was in Calgary at the bunkhouse for work, and I was watching it on the big TV we have in our lunchroom, and I stepped away because I was getting ready. I want to check what train I was going to get next. I don't know how long I was gone, but when I came back, and yes, the score had like shrunk, like the lead Edmonton shrunk. I'm like, I have no idea what happened. In a couple minutes, I went over there to check on my work, but when I came back, it's like something happened that I missed. But I mean, like I said, Edmonton Elks fans are not in a position to ask how, just how many wins can we get, not how the wins happen, just how many can we get in the remaining 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah. And essentially you're saying beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is now the name of the podcast right now. We found our title.
Yeah.
So going back to how did we get off topic to that? We ended up talking about the Stamps trade, and then we ended up talking about Justin Rankin. I don't mind it. It's just kind of like one of those weird rabbit holes. Going back to the trade, I think you nailed it. It's a desperation move, but it's a move they had to make, and it's the best move they had available to them. So it's like, you know, three things that all can be true that have nothing to do with the other. Obviously, they felt that they weren't getting the production behind Oramolade while he's missing the rest of the season. So I mean that adds a lot of muscle to that already strong D line, but it could have been stronger if it had not been to the injury to Mr. Oramolade. Are you surprised that there wasn't any more trades on CFL? Like we always make the joke that the CFL trade deadline is like where what do you call those little sand things in the old West? Those little hay that just. I know there's a name for
tumbleweeds.
it. Yeah,
tumbleweeds.
Yeah, the CFL trade deadline, or where the person who created who sells tumbleweeds will make a killing because there's just no action whatsoever. But
and honestly, I don't think nobody in the West is selling. Like the West is so close. You got three teams all basically jammed in there now with equal records. I mean, 16 points. And then Saskatchewan in, I don't want to use a comfortable lead, but they have some space.
I'd say comfortable. Let's
4 points.
Well, okay. I mean, they
playoff wise, Saskatchewan's comfortable. Saskatchewan's in, sort of being mathematically.
I think they're guaranteed hosting a playoff game. I'd say 90% that they win the West.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like exactly. Yeah, I'm giving at 4 points. I guess if we're talking about, they have a 4 point lead. If they want first, it's some cushioning playoff wise. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are in.
Yeah, and
for all intents and purposes, I would say I'd say 3 West teams are in. We're getting a crossover this year.
Yeah,
I would bet dollars to donuts. We're getting a crossover. The only problem is who's going to be that crossover team in the West. Actually, because you could play in the Western Division, or you're going over. Whoever finishes 4th in the West is going over to play in the East. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not surprised there's no movement, because what team is one in a position to get rid of guys, because you're a playoff team in the West. And Hamilton and Montreal are probably your 2 playoff teams in the East.
Yeah.
Does Ottawa have anything it wants to sell off? I don't think it does. I think it's good pieces are worth keeping. And outside that, I don't think you have anything to sell off.
And mathematically, they're still in it. They're like we can all just assume Toronto and Ottawa are still mathematically, and I'm using that term in air quotes very loosely, but you look at Saskatchewan, I think it's clear they need to improve on their kicking game. Brett Lawther needed to be replaced like last year. Is Ottawa going to trade him Lewis Ward, knowing that there's still a mathematical chance that they could even host a playoff game in the East? No, the writing was on the wall. they traded Lorenzo Molden, so they're probably they know what's up. But at the same time, Lewis Ward still has another year. They're not helping the Riders. Toronto probably is going to lose to the Hamilton Tiger Cats this week. Are they going to help those Saskatchewan Roughriders? Probably not with Leon Haralahu. No. Edmonton still has hope. Are they going to help them by trading a kicker? And let's keep in mind that those options are pretty good. Lewis Ward's not going to help Saskatchewan that much. I mean, the difference is like 10% in field goal converting. So, I mean, that's not going to help him at all. And then Rene Paredes is that something that Calgary is like going to just shake things up? Hey,
no,
we're going to do that. Well, I know, but I'm just saying is that there's all these options here. And so I think right now is that if you want excitement for the CFL trade deadline for stuff like this, there really needs to be a 10th team, because I feel that two teams probably would be out of playoff contention or mathematically eliminated by the trade deadline, because the trade deadline is gone and all 9 teams are still in it. Only 2 teams have physically clinched. Another could very well clinch this week. And 2 could be to add them to out of playoff contention. So, I mean, if there is a reason for a 10th team, this would be it. Just to add some kind of drama, to make something out of this day. I'm not saying that you should have like 8 hours of network coverage like they do for the NHL. Just something. Make it mean something. All right, let's go to week 18. Anything you want to talk about before? Like, is there anything that we missed? Because I feel that we didn't touch too much on the Ottawa trade or the Calgary trade, and we just went off on little rabbit holes.
It is. I think we touched on it as much as we could. Because again, I don't think it shoots Calgary to the top of the contenders list. And I mean, for the trade deadline thing, it would be nice to more exciting. But again, it doesn't make any sense for these teams to swap with each other for the sake of swapping, and nobody wants to fill a hole for another team because you're going to be battling them directly. So you got 7 teams trying to pick 2 teams apart for pieces. And I mean, unless those teams are getting something substantial in return, which playoff teams don't give up, the whole idea of trading players, then there's really nothing you can do. There isn't. So I don't, but that's about the 2 hottest topics I can come up with. And I think they're pretty simple topics to cover.
And I think this is like, everybody wanted parity. And this is the downside of parity, where now that you have 9 teams that are vying for 6 playoff positions. And if you want drama, you want coverage for a CFL trade deadline, this isn't going to happen. Anyway, let's get to week 18 of our CFL predictions. Irv, we'll break it down to you. Do better this time.
Rouge Radio is partnered with the good people over at Sports Interaction. Go to SIA.com/Rouge. Your first deposit will be matched up to 100%. And as always, Tony and Dalts have always advised to gamble and play responsibly. Gentlemen?
All right, that was a little bit better, Irv. All right, Tony. It starts off on this Friday is Saskatchewan Roughriders in Ottawa. We mentioned Brett Lawler. He is going to have some time off. Tommy Stevens is going to have some time off. So who knows what's going to happen with the short yardage, but it will be interesting to see if everything plays out. On the Ottawa side, they made some releases, their depth players. They've gotten rid, as we all already mentioned, Lorenzo Molden. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are only favored by 3.5 points, and the over-under is set at 53.5. Tony, are you still taking the Riders, given the fact that their offense through the air has been decreasing, and they've lost 2 in a row? Where do you see this one going?
I don't think I'm going to bail on the Roughriders. It feels like the easy answer, and if anything, the guy that picked the Riders to have a horrible season, you'd think I'd be chomping at the bit to tear this team down even more than is possible. But I mean, right now, again, I don't. It's funny too because I always use the excuse like, until you beat them, I'm going to pick them. But they're beating them. They're getting beaten. So it's like I can't even use that argument. But where they are right now in Ottawa, I don't know if they're getting to that period. I really thought this was going to be a better year for the Ottawa Red Blacks. I thought this was the summer of Drew, and it just never materialized. And I hope it doesn't go the same way I thought that the Elks progression was going to go, where it's never actually going to be there. And obviously, we've seen with our own eyes, this isn't anyone can beat anyone on any given weekend mentality. This is just straight up the Riders can lose to teams that they shouldn't lose to. Like, this isn't this weekend they could lose, like they have been losing. But I don't think it's enough for me to swing towards the Ottawa Red Blacks side. And I'm still going to keep this one going to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. If points are struggling, I might see this one maybe not being an absolute annihilation of the Red Blacks. I don't, dislike them that much, but something in the ballpark of a 28-14 game feels right to me for the Riders.
We're already going to be going opposite here. The Ottawa Red Blacks are a bad team. Like, that's clear. Saskatchewan is clearly a better team than the Ottawa Red Blacks. I don't know if, Lewis Ward might be a better player right now than Brett Lothar, but he's not playing, so that might be a wash. But there is something about Trevor Harris that just really bothers me. Not that he looks funny or anything. It's just that game against the Calgary. I went through stats just to see if stats bet, because there was just something off about Trevor Harris since that game in late August against the Calgary Stampeders. Before that, Trevor Harris was throwing, I think all but once, Trevor Harris threw more than 250 yards. Or no, all but once he did not throw for 250 yards. And they had that big record. I think they came out to 8-1 at that point. I could be wrong on that. But since then, he has still thrown for 250 yards more than 250 yards twice. And those instances came in the two losses. And since August 23rd against the Calgary Stampeders, his touchdown to interception ratio is 5-6. He's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. You're just not going to have that. That can't happen, especially when your kicker is struggling. You are completely, the pressure is on you to get more touchdowns. Who knows, this might happen with Campbell Fair being the primary kicker this coming Friday. But when you look at Ottawa throughout for their defensive front, it's very consistent. It's like it's not like that their defensive line is going to beat you. It's not their front seven that's going to beat you. It's not their secondary that's going to. It's just like one front. It's just one little unit. And I think it's just consistently across the board that they are really, really good. No standouts, no weakness. They're just there. And then you look on Saskatchewan side, on the defensive side, man, they've got Kefrali Exumi possibly starting out at that corner spot. Probably going to be lined up against Geno Lewis. Drew Brown is about to go off, just like McLeod Bethel Thompson did on Tyson Philpott a couple of weeks ago. I'm predicting an upset. Everything that I know about these two teams screams, shut up, Dalts. You don't know what you're talking about. Just say what everybody wants you to say. But there's just something about this matchup where here, Ottawa wins. They cover the spread. But I also think that they hit the over or hit the under on this one. I think Ottawa does win 24-19 over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It's going to look sloppy, but it's going to be feasible. It's going to be somewhat effective. But Ottawa does come out with the W in my opinion, just because of those two aspects I nailed down. Doubleheader on Saturday. Oh, by the way, when do we talk about Geno Lewis, by the way? Geno Lewis has not made the playoffs since signing as a free agent with the Edmonton Elks in 2022. Or 2000,
Wow.
was it? Yeah. No, 2023. He has not been a playoff performer at all since then. And all likely will continue that this year. Is it fair for us to label him a paycheck player? I mean, it's not that he's horrible. So. It's not that he's been bad. Yeah. And I don't want this to be like disrespectful. But the fact is he's going to teams that are not good. And he's getting paid handsomely to do it. At one point did we start talking about that?
He doesn't care about winning. He just wants the money.
Yeah, and for all intents and purposes, good on you. I always will champion the player to go after the money, but sometimes, man, you got to win. You have a legacy. The legacy is telling me that you care more about the money than you do about the rings, the championship, the glory, and whatnot. Doubleheader starts off in Toronto on Saturday. The Toronto Argonauts host the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Hamilton, fresh off that 40-3 whooping on behalf of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, are still favored by 1.5. The over-under is set at 57.5. I think this is Toronto's game to lose. I honestly, I predicted them to come out and cover the spread last week against BC. And they did. But I think BC is a different animal. I think BC, who knows? Maybe BC is a lot better than I give them credit for. Maybe Toronto is a lot worse than I give them credit for. But I do think that Toronto at home is also a different beast against Hamilton, who just got shellacked. And I'll be honest, they were on a 3-game winning streak. They didn't look good during that 3-game winning streak. I mean, there's just something about Hamilton. Their play calling on both sides just look very conservative. Toronto at home, I have to give this game to Toronto. I think they keep their season alive. Toronto wins 30-25. Keep the under in that one. There's no one for that. But 30-25, Toronto. Tony.
Yeah, I'm going, I guess it's an opposite week here, but I'm going quite the opposite with the Tiger Cats on this one. I feel a massive bounce back game, and your rival in Toronto feels like exactly where you want to explode for that game. And again, when you're the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and it's almost weird because the Tiger Cats team that we always thought was going to break the Grey Cup drought were always these really great Tiger Cats teams, and they never did it. Maybe it's time we just have one of those quiet, under-the-radar Tiger Cats teams come through and win the Grey Cup this year to break the slump. So the wins don't have to be pretty. Consistent is good enough for the Tiger Cats right now because they've put up beautiful teams. They've put up great teams. And as long as the wins are showing up and they're on the top of those standings and they're the favorites out of the East to get to that Grey Cup, I'm still going to give the Tiger Cats the benefit of the doubt that they can have a bounce back game because, again, the emotion behind playing the Argonauts, it's that whole cliche when these two teams get together, nothing else matters. Standings, points, playoffs, nothing else.
It's all pride.
Matters. And in this case, I think the Tiger Cats are going to use that to get back where they want to be. So I have them coming back big time, 30-10.
Oh, wow. And then we still have the under. So maybe the under should be the lock of the week here. The money in the bank. Here's the game of the week. The Calgary Stampeders are in BC. We've talked about the Calgary Stampeders' demise over the last couple of weeks. They've added Lorenzo Molden. Tony, do you think that is good enough to upstart the rising BC Lions in BC? BC is favored by 3.5. The over-under is set at 55.5.
Yeah, I wish I could say it was. As a fan, I obviously want my team in the playoffs, but these guys are leaking points all over the place. Adding one guy, I don't know if it's going to stop that, which is weird to say because we started showing the show by making the argument that losing one guy is why they're now bleeding points on defense. But having said that too, we've also talked 2 weeks ago about are we seeing the actual real Vernon Adams who at the end of the season winds down and can't put it together for a championship? So, I mean, a 4-game losing streak would be really tough for the Stamps to swallow right now. It'd be very difficult to take, but nothing about this Calgary Stampeders teams makes me feel like they can just spontaneously explode for this massive game. I want to see it. I want the win. But right now, I think BC's probably going to be the one that walks away from this one in BC at 27-14.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to continue opposite week here. There is nothing like when I look at all 3 of these games with my predictions. I mean, aside from Toronto, there is really nothing that really says, "Hey, pick me for the underdogs." But it's just something about this game. Calgary really needs to turn around. They made this addition. They still have some great players. BC seems to have these kind of games where, all right, we just beat the crap out of these teams that we should have beat. Now here's a big test. In comes Calgary. Here comes Vernon Adams Jr., the guy who you shipped away because you wanted a homegrown guy in Nathan Rourke. This has the makings of a trap game. I'm not willing to say that this is going to be a rout, but I do think Calgary does come away somewhat comfortable. I think Calgary wins this one 28-18 over the BC Lions. I think Nathan Rourke does get stymied early, and I think he does get stymied often, but I think he might make it a little bit interesting as the game progresses. But too little, too late. I think Calgary does come out with the W on this one, putting a little bit of pressure on Edmonton and Winnipeg when they are on the bye and they come back and play each other the week after. Well, there you have it. Tony has the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the BC Lions. I myself have the Red Blacks, Argos, and the Calgary Stampeders, because why not? Tony, I want to play a little game here. Quick game.
Sure.
All right. I don't know why I played the gunshot sound.
Breaking news bulletin.
Well, I kind of
breaking news bulletin for us.
I kind of want to play with the little sound chord here, like Jigsaw. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play a game.
There.
Yikes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Ottawa and Toronto. Probably more foregone conclusion that they're going to be playing. Convince me that these 2 teams are still going to stay alive, and at the end of the year, that they're going to make the playoffs. Like, convince me.
So I can convince you that Toronto makes it because the last 10 years of Toronto Argonauts football doesn't make sense. Who plays that dominant Calgary Stampeders team in whatever it was, 2017, and goes out and beats them on 2 fluke plays, and then you don't do anything else for the rest of the game, and you still win the Grey Cup. And then you come back, you put Nick Arbuckle in, who's on his last chance. He's already gone from Calgary to Ottawa. He's gone through Edmonton. He's on his last legs. And then he shows up. He doesn't play in Toronto until Grey Cup weekend and looks fantastic against the juggernaut Winnipeg Blue Bombers. There is no world where I can count this Toronto Argonauts team out because for some reason they win. Because who's Bethel McLeod Thompson? Who cares? He just won a Grey Cup. Who is Chad Kelly? Who cares? He just came in the last play of the game and wins a Grey Cup. Nick Arbuckle still in the Canadian Football League? Yes, and now he's going to beat the masterful Winnipeg Blue Bombers team. There is no reason Toronto should come back. And that is literally how Toronto Argonauts history works. That you should not be champions, and you are. So Toronto's argument for still being in it is because no signs point to them still being in it, which it doesn't even make sense coming out of my mouth, but I hope you know what I was trying to say, because it doesn't make sense for Toronto to make the postseason. So I can see them. So they'll probably end up in the East final. They'll beat the Cross. It'll happen.
All right.
And Ottawa, I have no argument for them getting hot, finishing ahead of the fourth place West team. I can see them staying healthy, taking care of their own business, and trying to be ready for 2026.
And I guess I probably should have included Edmonton in the argument, because right now, as it stands, Edmonton's outside looking in. On the flip side,
and I never looked at Edmonton's schedule based on your question, and I didn't know it was coming. I would need to quickly skim through Edmonton's schedule here, and we're looking at Edmonton Bombers, Edmonton Lions, and then Edmonton Stampeders to wrap up 3 games at the end of the season. You go on a 3-game winning streak, I think you're in the playoffs. As long as it's all Western matchups. Calgary plays the Argonauts, so that doesn't work for you. But if the Elks, they win out in 3, the Bombers play Saskatchewan. So you're probably a Saskatchewan fan there. You play Calgary. Okay, Saskatchewan and BC. Saskatchewan can help you there too. Are they better than BC? You're not catching Saskatchewan, I don't think. But in the final 2 weeks of the season, the final 3 weeks of the season, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are the Edmonton Elks' best friend right now. You know?
On the flip side, of the teams that haven't clinched, we're talking Montreal, we're talking Winnipeg, Calgary, BC. Give me one of those teams that could fall out and a reason why.
That's a good one. I could see
it's
BC
a lot
falling out.
It's a lot harder to think about those teams because some of them are really peaking at the right time. Like Montreal just got Davis Alexander back. There's no way that they lose out.
Yeah, I'm keeping Hamilton and Montreal right where they are. If a team drops like a stone right now, I feel like it's the Calgary Stampeders, and I'm not trying to be that, if I don't pick
reverse
my
jinx,
team, then they are going to win. But to me, realistically, like the Bombers, they've had a big win. They could still have a chance. I could find the Stampeders drop down to tie with the Bombers, and I think the Elks could win their way in and knock one of those teams out. I think if the Elks can get close enough to the Stampeders and the Bombers, I don't think both BC puts distance between them. But I think the Calgary Stampeders could be the team that falls out if Edmonton can beat them in the future coming up and get hot, and Calgary has just hit that plateau. If they've hit a wall that they can't get over now at the end of the season, that's what 4 would be this week. That's a 7-game losing streak, 8-game losing streak for the Stamps. That's probably not realistic, but who knows what can happen if the Stamps just give up, if Edmonton gets hot, if they can't win the important games, who knows?
I tell you, if this happens and Calgary manages to hold off, like if they lose out, but they still manage to hold on to a playoff spot, that should tell you. Like, people say, well, the real season doesn't start until after Labor Day. Like, Calgary was phenomenal before Labor Day. Like that. Games, that should tell you. For anybody that says that those games after Labor Day are the ones that mean more, tell that to the Calgary Stampeders. If they lose out but may maintain a playoff spot, those games in August and July mean just about as much, because 2 points in July are still 2 points that you would have gotten in September and October. But anyway,
that was funny too. We started the season. This will be my final thought here too. We started the season. I started the season. We both started the season saying, even the off season, talking about Dave Dickinson being the general manager / head coach. He's in the biggest hot seat and should probably lose his job. Then the Stampeders were fantastic. And then it was, oh God, Dave Dickinson, wow, he did what he had to. It's paying off. But boy, if they go into the can here and miss the playoffs or lose in the first round again, I mean,
yeah,
we turn on Dave again and put him back on the chopping block. Like, are we going to give him because he had 2 good months this summer? Are we ready to put him back on? Give him a pass? Like, boy, is there's just one guy that I don't know what to do with. I mean, I think regardless, it goes back to the conversation we had all last year. Strip Dave of a title.
Mm-hmm.
But what title do you strip him from? And to me, it's the general manager.
Oh, yeah.
But either way, Dave has to win a Grey Cup, or all the talk, off-season talk, or a success. Go to the Grey Cup, go to the West or something, or all the conversation goes back to what do you do with Dave Dickinson in Calgary?
Yeah, I think that first half of the season, like if you would have told me that Dave Dickinson would have won 8 games as a head coach after last year, I would have said, "Oh wow, he kept his job for 1 extra year."
Mm-hmm.
But I think that start might have actually did more harm than it did. If they, again, this conversation might be a moot point if Calgary ends up winning out, right? Or they have somewhat of a respectable finish. But if they end up losing out and being one, or at the very least making the playoffs and being one and done, that start, nobody's going to remember that start that they had, because all they'll remember is Dave Dickinson, the guy that had his team a 5-win season last year, just whimper out in the regular season and then whimper out again in the playoffs. That's all they'll remember.
Yeah, it's going to be another failed season for Dave Dickinson.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the slide happens around when some guy ends up being gone for the rest of the season, which is probably going to be the main reason why he might keep his job or both titles going into 2026. But that start might have actually done more harm than good, in my opinion. Well, that'll wrap it up for this week's podcast. As Tony, or I guess you already mentioned your final thoughts, so I'll just go right to the closing. You can follow us on all social media applications at Rouge Radio, myself at Rouge Dalts, Tony at Tony Rouge. Of course, you can follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube. I don't know the exact link for that, but I'm sure you can look up the new Rouge, because if you look up Rouge Radio, you get Rogue Radio for some reason. So I don't know if the organization search or what have you that we use is just not formidable, but it's under the new Rouge under YouTube. Like and subscribe, rate us on all the podcast applications, give us a review. We need it. Tell us that we're awesome or tell us that we're awful. I don't care. And of course, keep subscribing to us. Follow us on the TikTok at Rouge Radio Pod. And as always, get along with us at Sports Interaction, but we won't tell you which one to listen to because it's opposite week here on the Rouge Radio Podcast. So for Tony, I'm Dalts. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.